So I have to apologize ahead of time. I'm in a little bit of a food coma here. So I had my business partner, Gaurav Sharma, who's right here in front from @rock.com, coming to town last night. We were staying here at the hotel, and this morning, it was kind of weird. He actually turned into my Indian mother to where we were at the buffet, and I'm eating a place of food. And he's like, no, try this. You got to try this. You got to try this. And I'm a little bit of a sucker for Indian food. So after about 4 plates of food, I'm still a little full from my breakfast that I had this morning. But once again, I'm excited about Gaurav being here. Thank you so much for feeding me 4 plates of food and me eating it all. So and I have another funny story for you guys. So this wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny now. So even Sonia and the team don't even know this story. So we've been in negotiations about me coming to this stage for probably 2 or 3 months, right? Emails going back and forth, and teams and assistants, everybody's going back and forth. The crazy part about the whole thing is about a month and a half ago, I went and applied for a visa, but I was too early to apply for the visa. And if you guys know that if you're from the US coming to India, there's 2 things you need, right? It's a passport and a visa. It's very simple, right? There's only 2 things. I have the passport, so there's another thing that maybe I didn't have at this time. So it's Friday night, I'm packing, right? I'm packing, grabbing everything. I grab my passport and I go, oh shoot, I don't have a visa. This last Friday night. So I'm looking at this thing, I'm going online, I'm looking everywhere, and I'm like, man, you've got to be kidding me. My wife's like, really? Really? You don't have your visa? And I'm like, just not right now, baby. Please, let's not the best time to bring this up, okay? So this is Friday night, and I'm looking online, and everybody's going, hey, it's going to take 4 business days for you to get your visa, right? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done, right? You've got to be kidding me right now. So if you guys don't believe that praying works, I'm here to let you know that praying does work. And it actually worked over this last weekend. I had my full team of 33 people, myself, everybody praying that I was going to get accepted to come to India, right? So this was Friday night, 4 working days. I'm flying in on, it was Monday night. I was leaving Sunday morning out of San Francisco. And little did I know in San Francisco that when you're going to check in, there's a lady that comes up and says, hey, do you have your visa? So this is Sunday morning, I'm being driven, this is an hour and a half away from where I live, I'm being driven into San Francisco airport, and I'm literally praying. I'm going, please, somebody listen to me right now. I need this visa to get into, because can you imagine telling Sonia, like, hey, awesome, thanks for the invite, but I can't make it because I didn't get my visa? I'd probably be banned from any other event that in India, maybe anywhere in the world, right, knowing that I can't be an adult and get a visa. Anyways, 15 minutes before I'm going on 15 more minutes before I got checked in, I received my visa. So here I am today. Before I was excited, today I'm like super excited because I really wasn't supposed to even be here on this stage. But today what we're going to talk about is digital marketing, the past, present, and future of digital marketing. And I'm going to kind of go into this a little bit. How many of you, and this is going to be a humbling thing for me to ask, how many of you have heard of myself, Shane Barker? Like, have you written any of my content? Well, we've got 1 person, 2. We'll get those numbers up. After this, you guys, next time I come, you guys can all raise your hand. So I want to go into this. So my day job is that I'm a digital strategist, and I do a brand and influencer consultant as well. I specialize in influencer marketing, so we kind of talked about that a little earlier. Content marketing, SEO, and then website conversions. My experience, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies, influencers with digital products, and also A-list celebrities. My nighttime job is I'm also an instructor at UCLA in Southern California. I have a personal branding and how to be an influencer course. I actually fly down there once a week to teach the course for about 2 hours, or about 3 hours for the students. And it's pretty interesting. So where I've been featured in New York Post. We have Mexico, Forbes Mexico, The Atlantic, USA Today, a lot of different places. I currently write for about 120 different websites. And when I say I write for it, I actually have a team of 33 people with @Rock and the team over there. And I write for Inc., Forbes, Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner, Salesforce, plus many other sites. My digital accolades, because I really wanted to kind of give you guys the premise of the reason why they had me be a keynote speaker is because I've been in the space for about 25 years, so I have a lot of experience with it. Right now, we're going to go over this a little later, talk about one of our strategies of SEO, but right now, for about 4,000 plus keywords, I'm ranked on page 1 on Google. So you have to realize that I'm in the digital space, and so the people that I compete against are obviously digital marketers that obviously want that position as well. So I go up against some of the biggest players in the world, the Neil Patels. If you've heard of Neil, I'm sure more of you heard of Neil than Shane. Okay, we'll figure that out a little later. But so you have situations. So we're number 1 for about 4,000 plus websites. I get about 150,000 visitors for ShaneBarker.com, and I have about 60,000 followers. So I just wanted to kind of set the table for you guys so you guys kind of get an idea of who I am. Now let's talk about digital marketing. So I think we all kind of get the idea of what digital marketing is. Really, it's an umbrella of terms of different like marketing strategies that all go into different channels, right? So we're going to go over this. There's SEO, there's website conversions, there's social media channels. There's a lot of things that play into this thing that we call digital marketing. And I want to go into a few different things. We're going to talk about the 1990s, we're going to talk about the 2000s, 2010s, and we're going to talk about the future. So the term digital marketing actually was first coined in the early 1990s. At that time, we also had the first search engine, which was called Archie. We also had the first social media site, which was called 6 Degrees, which obviously Archie's gone, 6 Degrees is gone as well. We launched this thing called Yahoo, and then Google. You guys maybe have heard of Google potentially, right? They're pretty big. And then you had e-commerce websites as Amazon and eBay launched. And then this was also the early stages of SEO. So we started looking at like how could we optimize content or put content online and become #1 for the search engines. So I'm going to go into my example. I'm going to have an example for each one of the decades. So 1990, my example is Amazon. Amazon at that time was all they did is they sold books, right? So what they would do is they'd have a delivery system where they would deliver books for their customers, and then they were building reviews on there, and it was kind of customer-centric in the sense that it was an online community. Within 3 years, Amazon actually went public, and then within 1 year, by 1999, they had $1 billion in sales. Amazon today, I think, is $250 billion company. It's one of the largest companies, and that was obviously a product of the 1990s. So now we have social media in the 2000s, right? This is when we had LinkedIn in 2003, we had Facebook in 2004, YouTube in 2005, and we had Twitter in 2006, and then we also had Gmail also launched, which was obviously a Google product that became very popular and is still very popular today. This is when we had Groupon, which is all of the online shopping deals and discounts. And then the big thing was the adoption of big data, right? Being able to look at data and be able to better assess how you're going to be able to do your strategies. We also had web-centric marketing, which is going to be where you're really going to have, your website is really where you're having kind of like your portal of where people come in and be able to look at content, look at things. And I'm going to have a good example of web-centric marketing. And that was something that we really took on for my site, shanebarker.com, was something that was really important for us, was to really answer the questions of people that had questions online. And then there was also mobile marketing and social ads also happened in the 2000s. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Marcus Sheridan. So Marcus Sheridan is actually a good friend of mine. I had him on my podcast a few months ago. And Marcus Sheridan actually owned a pool company. It was him and some of his buddies owned this pool company. And this was in 2009. And they weren't doing good. They weren't selling a lot of pools. There was a lot of competition in the city that he was from. And he was trying to figure out, like, how do I differentiate myself? Like, right, how do I go ahead and have something that nobody else has? And so what they realized was through all their customer service stuff, through the phone calls and emails, that a lot of people were asking a lot of the same questions. And so they're thinking, okay, well, how can I answer these questions, right? How can I be able to do this? Because the customer service people are answering the same questions every day. And so what he thought is like, okay, what happens if I wrote a blog post about it, and what we could do is send people there? Because we have to assume that people are having these questions. Well, what happened was the blog post is, how much is my fiberglass pool really going to cost? Because that was what everybody was looking for. Well, not only were people asking that through customer service, but people are also searching that online. So because of this one blog post that he did in 2009, here goes his results. So right now, his pool website it actually has the most traffic of any pool site in the whole world. That one blog post generated up till today $2.5 million in revenue. Because what it did is there was people asking questions, and it answered that question for them, and they would go there, and he was very transparent about the information that he put out there. Hey, you got this guy over here that's going to offer you a pool for $3,000. Ours is $10,000. Let me explain the difference, just so you know what's going on. If you want the cheaper pool that's only going to last 3 years, not a problem. If you want our pool that's going to last a lifetime and we have a guarantee, that's why we're charging more. Right? So it's the education of that, being able to put the information out there so the world can see it. And the other thing around, the reason why this worked, and I've already kind of touched on this, is because, once again, customers had questions, and they had answers for them. And so what Marcus did is they continued to build out this blog and continue to answer these questions for their customers. Eventually, over time, they started looking at SEO and looking at software and realizing that this is the things that people were looking for. But in the beginning stages, they just were putting out content that they were seeing that was coming through customer service, like questions that people had. So digital marketing in the 2010s, so this is where we started seeing web usage over the TV viewership, right? Things started to get a little interesting. The adoption of mobile first for strategies and experience. We also had influencer marketing started to peak in at the beginning of 2010. Pinterest, Instagram ads. We had voice-enabled search was another thing that's kind of interesting that we'll talk about here in the future. And the introduction of new technologies like AI, machine learning. We have advanced personalization, live chat, and some other cool features. The example I'm going to use for this was Daniel Wellington, is a watch company out of the US. And so what Daniel Wellington did in the beginning, this was in the early, I think 2012, I believe, 2013, what they did is they partnered with micro-influencers and said, hey, if I sent you a free watch, you can pick from these watches, would you be willing to post about the watch and talk about your experience with the watch and whether you like the watch, whether you don't like the watch? And this was in the beginning stages where people were like, you're going to send me a free watch to post and just tell some people that I like the watch? And yeah, absolutely. You're going to send me a $200 watch? I'll absolutely do that. So it became something that was in the beginning, the infancy stages of influencer marketing, where people realized, like, wait a second, there's something here, right? There's something really juicy here. And Daniel Wellington was one of the first companies to do that in the digital space. And they started using the hashtag Daniel Wellington, so they could kind of see who was posting about. They had certain hashtags they used in certain ways to figure out what the ROI of the campaigns were going to be and kind of what kind of sentiment, what kind of people were talking about that brand. So they grew 4,700% in between 2013 and 2015. Their $15,000 seed fund ended up being a $220 million company, and within 4 years, and then their Instagram growth grew to about 4.2 million followers, and they had over 20,000 mentions by 7,200 influencers in 2018. It was the most of any brand. So they were one of the first companies to really jump into the influencer marketing space and really kind of take off from it. And you can see there's obviously phenomenal growth. So that was 2019, right? We have 1990s to 2010 to 2000 to now to 2010, and now we're going to talk about the digital marketing of today. So there's a lot more than this. I'm just going to go over some of these. There's content marketing, there's SEO, there's social media marketing, online PR, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, referral marketing, PPC, email marketing, and CRO. And just so you guys know, that's not my son. I know he kind of looks like me a little bit, huh, with the sunglasses, except no? He doesn't look like me? Okay, good. So anyways, those are the certain things that you could do in regards to digital marketing today. The other things that we're not going to have time to talk about today, but is after you've already put out your digital marketing campaigns, is going to be customer loyalty and customer advocacy, which kind of plays into a little bit of influencer marketing. And some of the brands up here were talking about that earlier, about having advocates for your brand and loyalty and stuff like that. We don't have time to go over that today, but it's something that you should probably look into as well. So some of the strategies that my agency at shanebarker.com and atrock.com used are going to be, these were the three things that we really invested time in really early. We invested a lot of time and money into was content marketing. So we were kind of played off the Marcus Sheridan thing of like, hey, we feel like there's a lot of people asking these questions like, how do I do SEO? And how do I do influencer marketing? And how do I pitch a brand? And there's a lot of unanswered questions. And so what we thought is like, God, if we're hearing this in customer service, we should be writing this content, right? So that's what we did. So we have content marketing. We have SEO. We'll kind of go into exactly what we did in regards to each one of these strategies. And then influencer marketing was the other piece of this that we invested a lot of heavy time into. So content marketing was a pretty easy concept. We started it probably about 8 years ago. And what we did is we started writing guest blog posts. So it's one thing to write something for my website, right? But it's another thing to write it for other websites. And so what we would do is like, I have an audience here on my website. That's awesome. But really what I want to do is I want to write for these other websites and pull those people in and go, wow, Shane really seems to know a lot about SEO. Maybe I should join his newsletter, right? I'm trying to drive that traffic from these other websites. And so what we did was really easy. We just thought about the pain points of our customers and talk about industry topics, and we're going to write about them on third-party websites, and we're going to drive that traffic over. And that's how we're getting about 150, 60,000 people a month on the website. The other things, we wanted to make sure that we were publishing on high authoritative websites. They have to be relevant. So in Google's eyes, if I'm writing an article on a gaming website, that's probably not going to make sense for what I do, right? So it has to be highly relevant. So we looked at these websites, and it was all foundational. I got to a point I was writing for some okay websites, and now I'm writing for Forbes and Inc. and Huffington Post, right? So it's obviously, it takes a little bit to get to that point, but it's also great for me being, from an authoritative standpoint, from being a thought leader, right? Because then people see me that I write for Forbes and Inc., and there's some cool stuff that happened because of that. So the results, as of today, I write for 120 different websites. I get to be the keynote speaker all over the world, which is a big party bonus as long as I get my visa. Right? That's really important, you guys. Don't forget your visas. And then also I became an instructor over at UCLA. So let me kind of explain that story. So UCLA actually reached out to me and said, hey, we would like you to be an instructor at our school. And I'll tell you, when I first got that email, I thought it was a friend like messing around with me. I'm like, oh, who wrote me the email? And it was really UCLA. They said, hey, we read your content. We love the content you put out there, and we're looking for more of a practitioner, not somebody that's read a book and that can just tell the students. We're looking for somebody who's actually done it. Because I had 25 years of experience, They said, hey, we want to bring you on board. I went down there, interviewed, and I got the job. But you have to realize, if I hadn't written that content, if I don't tell people, they didn't know all this, if I didn't have all that content out there, nobody would know how good I was or what I was doing or if anything was going on. I could be the best marketer in the world. We talk about this. You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't have good marketers, nobody hears about it. You can have a terrible product, but you have good marketers, people buy stuff. I mean, it's just how it is, right? So once again, a lot of leverage from the content marketing side of things. So our SEO strategy was pretty simple. I kind of touched on it a little bit. We did want to make sure that we had great backlinking, right? So that's a backlinking is going to be a link on a high authoritative website. We were taking care of that through the guest blog posts that we were doing. The other thing that we did is, because of the high quality content, what we did is, I'm writing these for these third-party websites. They're driving the traffic, and Google goes, wow, this guy Shane is writing for all these awesome websites. Maybe we should start, like the content he writes for his website, maybe we should kind of push him up in the rankings. Because what Google wants to know is that the people that are backlinking to is kind of like your network, right? So if I'm hanging out with all these brands and we're all side by side, he goes, wow, Shane must be a pretty awesome guy because he's hanging out with these awesome brands. If I'm hanging out with people that are, that are really bad brands or something, that have bad images, and you guys assume I have a bad image. So Google's kind of the same way online. And so what we looked at was, okay, so we're going to go after certain keywords, and the idea of this is that we would go after what we call long tail keywords. So the example being, instead of going after attorney, I would go after DUI attorney in Sacramento, right? So that's a long tail keyword. And we would go after these keywords, and just in the last 2 years, we've been indexing, like I said, I've already given you some of the results. We've been indexing extremely well. From about 500 blog posts that I've posted in the last probably 8 years, I rank for about 40,000 plus keywords on Google, and right now about 4,000 of those were in the top 10 SERP, so if you look for certain keywords, and about 460 of those keywords were in the number 1 spot. So like digital marketing consultant, there's some really, really high-level keywords that a lot of people pay a lot of money to advertise up there, and we get it free, well, kind of free. I mean, we obviously paid for ads and got some stuff up, but the idea of it is that we're in a position now that we're in the snippet in Google. So when you go to Google and you'll see, you go to look something up and there's like a thing and it has like 8 things, like the 8 best AI chatbots, that's us. That's usually my company. And so we've built that up over the years, and Google loves the content now. And so now we're in a position where we're actually monetizing that, and that's a whole nother presentation. But so the influencer marketing strategy that we did, we decided, since we was kind of a B2B play, we wanted to be really creative, and we wanted to start doing co-branded webinars with prominent brands like SaaS companies and other companies that had a great following. Once again, the idea of it is to have my followers, their followers, and bring them together, and I want to pull as many of their followers my way, and obviously the brand wants to pull as many followers their way. We did outreach to popular podcasts for interviews. So we said, okay, Shane's got a really cool story. Like the way I do most of my speeches is either digital marketing or influencer marketing, because I have some unique studies that we've done and some cool stuff. And so that's what got me on the podcast, and the fact that I'm a UCLA instructor. And so we pitched a lot of podcast interviews, and then we also realized through the podcast interviews that, hey, like maybe we should start our own podcast, right? It kind of felt like, hey, I can go ahead and speak, and there was some really cool influencers that we could meet, and it's great for networking and some awesome stuff. So the results of that was, we created and we marketed over 20 co-branded webinars in less than 1 year. So it was a lot of work. So each of the webinars had their own little premise of what we were going after. I've been interviewed by 30 plus podcasts in the last year. And then I also just named one of the 100 most influential people in influencer marketing. So that's with Kim Kardashian, Richard Elderman, and there's a lot of others on there as well. Gary Vee, some big players in that. So now that we understand all of that, let's talk about the future of digital marketing. Let's talk about what you guys, as marketers, as brands, and agencies, need to take a look at. So the top priorities for digital marketers in 2020 is going to be consumer-centric marketing, right? So that's obviously thinking about your consumer and their journey that they're taking when it comes to your website, or when it comes to them calling in through customer service or anything like that. Data-driven marketing strategies. So that's obviously looking at the data, right? Not just doing something and just hoping it goes well. It's like saying, was that successful or why wasn't that successful? And putting your KPIs in place, your key performance indicators, to know whether it was successful or not. Personalized messages, right? So we talked about that a little bit. Some of the brands have talked about personalized messaging with products and service and recommendations and offers. And then we have an omni-channel experience, which is obviously from multiple channels, and people have an experience on different channels, whether that be social media channels. And then instant 24/7 support. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So there's 4 future strategies for digital marketers or brands or agencies that we're going to talk about right now. And one of them is going to be AI or machine learning. And the example I'm going to give you is a company called Git. And what they did is they're actually a mobility app. And so what it is they'll go and they pick people up, kind of like an Uber, let's say. And what they do is the availability is 24/7. What they did is they were able to respond instantly. The big issue with this company was they were having over 100,000 people reach out to them for whatever reasons. And what they did is they used that app. So let's say I go on the app, I go on, and then I forget my wallet in the Git, and I go, oh shoot, what am I going to do? You could actually go on to the AI chatbot, which was run by LivePerson. That's who the AI chatbot they used. You actually could go on there, find out the phone number of the person that just dropped you off, and give them a call before they picked up somebody else and you lost your wallet. So they were taking care of I think it was 90% of their. Yeah, so here we are. So they said that 90% of their missing items cases were taken care of because they had a light chat option. I mean, can you imagine if you lost your wallet and you send an email and they're like, hey, we'll get back to you within 24 hours. You think your wallet's going to be in that same Git vehicle in 24 hours? Probably not, folks, probably not. Your wallet's gone. So they took care of about 90% of those. Their CSAT, which is their customer satisfaction, increased from 60 to 90%. And they were able to manage 50% of their interactions at any given time. So once again, 24-hour service, 7 days a week, and people obviously love that. When you lose something, you don't want to wait 24 hours to get a response. The other one is virtual reality. So you have the goggles that you can wear. In this situation, a key you didn't need the goggles. What they did is they did a way that they increased their conversions and got more sales. And what they did is it's actually, you can go on the website, and it's a virtual reality type experience. So if you can see here, you can actually click on it. You can go and you can open the cabinets. You can pull the cabinets out. You can do anything. You can feel the texture. There's all kinds of kind of crazy stuff you can do. You can look at the experience from it as a child's perspective. So you click on it, and all of a sudden you're this tall, and now you're looking at cabinets from this level. It's kind of some interesting stuff, right? And so it was the increase that they saw in this for the IKEA UK, they actually found a 27% online growth because of this. Once again, making this virtual situation of where I can't physically go in the store, but I can have the experience online. And then their online growth or the online visitors increased to about 224 million. So the third one we're going to talk about is live streaming. So live streaming is kind of like a thought leadership type position where it's good for branding, good for lead generation. And this is Lauren Conrad. So she's a celebrity in the US, but she's also an author, and she's also a fashionista. And so what they did is Cosmopolitan actually had her on a Facebook question and answer type situation. And so I think it was about an hour session they did. And the live stream got about 200,000 plus views. Once again, this is with Cosmopolitan and Lauren both promoting at the same time, right, getting ready for that experience. And they got about 2,600 comments, and the post received about 4,200, reactions to it. So once again, a huge amount of exposure, all done through live stream. So the fourth example I'm going to give you is it's called voice recognition technology. So what this is more that customer experience, more of that personalization. This one actually is Domino's. They have an app. It's called a voice assistant. It's called Dom. And so what Dom does is what they realized is when they started doing all the online experiences, there was issues where people would drop off because they couldn't figure something out. They were driving and they wanted to order a pizza, but they couldn't do it through voice. And so what they did was by creating the app Dom, what they did is they were able to get in the last from 2014 to currently, they've done over 500,000 orders because of that. And a lot of those orders, usually probably half of those would have fallen off because once again, there wasn't a situation where they were going to be able to continue through the voice activation. But Dom was able to make it so that if they had an issue at a certain point, the voice activation would kick in and they were able to order those pizzas and not drop off the app. So now about 50% of their sales come from the online platform. You guys like that? You guys like him? Huh? Yeah, I saw some of you guys. I know. I picked that one. That wasn't my team. That was me. I like that one. So you guys, the point of this presentation is to let you know that obviously digital marketing, to kind of show you guys the past, obviously the present and the future. The future is going to be pretty crazy, right, in regards to what can be done in regards to digital marketing. The key to this whole thing is that you have to understand, you have to pick the right strategy, right? You have to think about your audience, the demand, the competition, and then you have to look at it and say, hey, is this going to fit my brand, right? Do I have to have an AI chatbot where there has to be 24-hour service? 7 days a week? I do, maybe I don't, right? Or do I have to have something, where does people fall off in my sales process and how do I clean that up? Or how do I get it to a situation where they have a chatbot or something that will jump in or some voice-activated thing that will help somebody in that whole process? So you guys have to think about that as brand and marketers and agencies, once again, about how you're going to be able to sell people and how you're going to be able to keep people in that process. And once again, keeping the customers in mind during that whole process. So I've got 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and it's going down. I've got 11 seconds. But does anybody have any questions? So I've got about 2 minutes. Yes, in the back.
Hi, my name is Sagar. and I'm in the midst of starting my own venture. So I just want to know, how do you go about trying to build influence on social media when you're just starting out? It's easier when you already have a follower count and you're trying to, catch on to the movements. But how do you do it when you're just about to start?
Yeah, it's very easy to come on stage when I've got a 33-person team and say, hey, just go do it, right? Because obviously I have a lot of people that are assisting me in the day-to-day. One thing you have to take a look at is, first of all, figure out who your competition is, right? So you want to take a look at your competitors and figure out what they're doing. Because this is the thing, what's awesome about social media and different platforms is you can go, there's a lot of softwares and things you can visually look at and go figure out what your competitors are doing right. And if they have budgets and they've been funded and all kinds of fun stuff, you have to assume that what they're doing, not always, but you have to assume that it's probably working because they've probably tried 10 things that doesn't work. And so if you're seeing, you have a competitor that's posting whatever videos and videos seem to be doing great, and you look at that and you're like, I can produce that content. Like I have an iPhone, I have the things that are needed to be able to produce that type of content. What I would do is I would start there. There's no reason to start fresh and try to figure stuff out. Look around what the competition's doing, and you don't have to do something exactly what they're doing, but you can do something similar, and you just have to figure out what your voice is going to be, how you're going to be different than what they're doing. So I know sometimes it can be a struggle, right? But you have to remember, this is the cool part, is that we all started off as a one-person team, right? So you're not starting any different than I did. Right? I didn't have $1 million. I didn't have my dad come and say, Shane, let me give you $1 million and go ahead and do this. No, my dad was like, hey, good luck. Have fun out there. Right? So don't worry about it. Talk to me after this too.
Thank you.
All right, the bells are ringing. So you guys let me know if you guys need anything. I'll be around once again. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity.